I'm going to be checking out an iconic, historical, pivotal moment when Mr. Rogers himself testified in front of Senate Subcommittee of Communications on May 1st, 1969, where he passionately advocated for federal funding for PBS and educational television, emphasizing how his show taught children emotional intelligence and self-worth. In the end, he ended up convincing Senator John Pastore to allocate 20 million to public broadcasting. So this is gonna be my first time actually really sitting down and checking out the thing. Obviously, this rabbit hole that I've been going down with Mr. Rogers has been a great one so far, and I've learned so much. And what a man he seemed to be. Guys, of course, look, if you love my videos and you want to get some exclusive bonus content from me on my Patreon, I'm doing just that. I'm doing some extra bonus and movie reactions, some album reviews, and some sitcom reviews. I recently reacted to Ferris Bueller's Day Off, as well as Madonna's Like a Prayer album. That was the very first time I checked out Madonna ever. So if you guys are interested in getting a Gen Z perspective on a lot of the classic stuff that you guys would have grown up with, then definitely consider checking out the link in the description to the Patreon. It'll be great to support the channel if you guys love my content. Of course, guys, look, don't forget to smash the like button. I know it's easy to forget. If you like these videos, you want to see more, and subscribe to the channel if you guys are new here, as well as turn on the post notifications. And guys, let me know what other stuff you want me to check out. But guys, with that being said, let's get straight into the video. Let's go.
Peabody Award is testament to that fact. Now, Mr. Rogers is certainly one of the best things that's ever happened to public television, and his Peabody Award is testament to that fact. We in public television are proud of Fred Rogers, and I'm proud to present Mr. Rogers to you now. Fred.
All right, Rogers, you got the floor.
Even his demeanor when he's like not on the show is like the same from what I've seen on like when he is on the show. So polite, friendly, compassionate, loving.
Senator Pastore, this is a philosophical statement and would take about 10 minutes to read, so I'll not do that. One of the first things that a child learns in a healthy family is trust. And I trust what you have said that you will read this. It's very important to me. I care deeply about children. My first children...
Will it make you happy if you read it?
I'd just like to talk about it, if it's all right.
Sir. Okay.
My first children's program was on WQED 15 years ago, and its budget was $30.
Wow.
Now, with the help of the Sears Roebuck Foundation and National Educational Television, as well as all of the affiliated stations. Each station pays to show our program. It's a unique kind of funding in educational television. With this help, now our program has a budget of $6,000.
Wow.
It may sound like quite a difference, but $6,000 pays for less than 2 minutes of cartoons.
Wow.
2 minutes
That's
of
deep.
animated, what I sometimes say, bombardment. I'm very much concerned, as I know you are, about what's being delivered to our children in this country. And I've worked in the field of child development for 6 years now, trying to understand the inner needs of children. We deal with such things as the inner drama of childhood. We don't have to bop somebody over the head to make him, to make drama on the screen. We deal with such things as getting a haircut, or the feelings about brothers and sisters, and the kind of anger that arises in simple family situations. And we speak to it constructively.
How long a program is it?
It's a half hour every day. Most channels schedule it in the noontime as well as in the evening. WETA here has scheduled it in the late afternoon.
Could we get a copy of this so that we can see it?
Wow.
Maybe not today, but I'd like to see the program.
Wow, he hasn't even seen it yet as well, and imagine, like, to think how something that literally is 30 minutes could have such a monumental impact on so many people, so many childhoods. To imagine, a world where they didn't exist, or the funding was never, got given, and a lot of these shows stopped. Who knows what kind of impact that would have had? And I'll be very curious to see what you guys think. Maybe a lot of you guys wouldn't even want to think about what would have happened if that was the reality. But even just another thing as well, just of how Mr. Rogers speaks. He's so like soft in his tone, and he speaks so calmly, soothingly. He doesn't like skip a beat, doesn't rush. And it reminds me of one of the first reactions I've done, my first impression of him. Sorry, guys. Where he was talking about how people are so consumed with noise that nobody ever stops to think about the silence, or to stop in the silence. I'm paraphrasing, but even just how he moves, he doesn't just talk the talk, but he walks it. He is what he says he is, and you can see that through his actions. And this is my first time hearing him speak for a long string of time, and he is literally exactly just how I've been hearing him to be through comments that you guys drop in down below, and from what people are saying in these videos that I'm seeing. Like, I'm seeing it literally how it is. That's really impressive, man.
Here has scheduled it in the late afternoon.
Could we get a copy of this so that we can see it? Maybe not today, but I'd like to see the program.
I'd like very much for you
I'd
to
like
see.
to see the program itself, or any one of them, you see.
We made 100 programs for EEN, the Eastern Educational Network, and then when the money ran out, people in Boston and Pittsburgh and Chicago all came to the fore and said, we've got to have more of this neighborhood expression of care. And this is what I give. I give an expression of care every day to each child to help him realize that he is unique.
Wow.
I end the program by saying, you've made this day a special day by just your being you.
Wow,
There's no person in the whole world like you, and I like you just the way you are.
Huh.
And I feel that if we in public television can only make it clear that feelings are mentionable and manageable, we will have done a great service for mental health.
Yeah, I can't get over the fact that Fred at this time was advocating for these important things. So I feel like, especially Gen Zers, a lot of us are way more conscious of mental health these days. I mean, it's like, when you're in school, they tell you about it. You hear all these campaigns for mental health. Even there was a whole movement on getting men to be more emotionally available and stuff like that, which, so there's definitely that prominence on the importance of like having a good mental health. And to see Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers himself, advocating for this like all the way back in 1969, during a time where I don't know if this was much of a thing, like mental health and stuff like that. At least it wasn't as talked about as it is now. From like a contemporary lens, like you just wouldn't. It's crazy to imagine just how much this aged really well. And if Mr. Rogers saw just how much of that was an onus on like mental health these days, I'm sure he'll be happy to hear that as well, because I can imagine the impact. Just him saying, I didn't even know he did that. At the end of every episode, he was talking about how much he cares about you and how important you are and stuff like that. Like, to hear that as a child, especially when you're going through whatever you're going through, that can do so much. And that's something that I don't even think at the time people would have been able to really understand until you get to now, where everyone's talking about mental health and you realize, okay, yeah, that was really important. Like, Mr. Rogers is really potentially might have saved my life. Something to think about, right?
Done a great service for mental health.
That's crazy, man.
I think that it's much more dramatic that two men could be working out their feelings of anger. Much more dramatic than showing something of gunfire. I'm constantly concerned about what our children are seeing. And for 15 years, I have tried in this country and Canada to present what I feel is a meaningful expression of care.
Do you narrate it?
I'm the host, yes. and I do all the puppets, and I write all the music, and I write all the
Wow.
scripts.
Well, I'm supposed to be a pretty tough guy, and this is the first time I've had goosebumps for the last 2 days.
That's the part that I saw. That's mad.
Well, I'm grateful, not
Hey,
only...
and I don't believe that was a coincidence, man. I genuinely believe God was working through this man in that moment, and just have that impact on John Pastore. Hope I'm saying his name right. That's deeper than just physical. That's a spiritual impact right
Last
there.
2 days.
I believe so.
Well, I'm grateful, not only for your goosebumps, but for your interest in our kind of communication.
That's it.
Could I tell you the words of one of the songs which I feel is very important?
Yes.
This has to do with that good feeling of control, which I feel that children need to know is there. And it starts out, what do you do with the mad that you feel? And that first line came straight from a child. I work with children, doing puppets in very personal communication
Wow.
with small groups. What do you
So
do?
so he actually worked with children alongside the show? Like, was he some sort of like ventriloquist? Because if so, that's interesting as well. But you can like, from what it sounds like, he was really involved with children. Like, you're talking about how he's had the show he's been in for years, and then he works with children. Like, he's heavily invested with children, man. Like, and so when with stuff he's saying, I can imagine like all those years of experience just building up so that he could be the one in this moment who could just perfectly display, and his demeanor and everything. It's just, this is like, wow.
In very personal communication with small groups. What do you do with the mad that you feel? When you feel so mad you could bite. When the whole wide world seems oh so wrong, and nothing you do seems very right. What do you do? Do you punch a bag? Do you pound some clay or some dough? Do you round up friends for a game of tag or see how fast you go? It's great to be able to stop when you've planned a thing that's wrong and be able to do something else instead and think this song. I can stop when I want to, can stop when I wish, can stop, stop, stop anytime. And what a good feeling to feel like this and know that the feeling is really mine. Know that there's something deep inside that helps us become what we can. For a girl can be someday a lady, and a boy can be someday a man.
I think it's wonderful. I think it's wonderful. Looks like you just earned the $20 million.
Just like that, huh? Made it look so easy. Wow. That's incredible, man. And what a iconic historic moment. And it's aged so gracefully over time. I mean, even to this day, like, the fact that I can watch this, I can sit back as, you know, all these years later and watch something that was so monumental back then and still feel the weight to some capacity. Obviously, I probably won't be able to feel it in its entirety, but that it still holds weight is what I'm trying to say. Is incredible, man. And even more so till today, you know, there's such an onus on making sure that kids have the right, you know, fundamental growth in their early years, because there's all this research that suggests how, you know, if kids don't get that right treatment, then that can go on to offset so many long-term effects later on in their adulthood, even, you know, how they interact with people and themselves and all sorts. So just how much of a blessing Mr. Rogers would have been to so many, even a lot of you guys growing up, even more than you probably would have ever realized. You know, when you're a kid, you're just watching a program, but then when you grow up, you realize just how much that impacted you, and then it just resonates with you so much. And do you know what? I'm sure a lot of you guys are going to comment down below just how much so, which I would love to see as well. Guys, if Mrs. Point comment on the yellow heart, you already know the hearts of these Mr. Rogers videos if you've been watching these already. Shout out to you guys at Mrs. Point who just been sticking with me through when I've been just waffling, let's say. Yeah, man, definitely get in the comments below. Let me know how this affected you. Don't forget to like the video if you haven't already. It's easy to forget. And I'll see you guys again in the next one. Peace.